For the first time in history, foreign policy has become global. Communications are instantaneous, and there exist problems which are genuinely not national, like environment, nuclear proliferation, and similar issues. So in this sense, we are living in a new world, and a new world order will emerge. The only question is whether it will arise out of intellectual and moral insight and by design, or whether it will be forced on mankind by a series of catastrophes. That's the challenge of our period. And it makes it, to my mind, one of the most exciting periods in which anybody can live.
What if the real reason behind 15-minute cities has nothing to do with convenience? They tell us it's about walkability, sustainability, a greener future. But dig a little deeper and you'll find whispers of control, not community. In a 15-minute city, everything you need, work, school, healthcare, food, is within a 15-minute radius. But what happens when convenient access becomes forced confinement? Surveillance cameras on every corner, digital ID checkpoints, geofencing zones that track your every move. Miss a curfew, travel too far, or dissent too loudly, and you may find yourself locked out of services, or worse. Sounds dystopian? Cities like Oxford and Paris are already testing traffic filters, limiting movement between zones unless you have permission, and all under the guise of climate control. Combine that with smart grid tech, facial recognition, and AI policing. And suddenly, this urban utopia starts looking like a digital prison. What if the real plan isn't to save the planet, but to cage the people? Are 15-minute cities about freedom or about fencing you in? You be the judge. Don't forget to follow and keep our content alive.
Diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. We think that wearables are a key to the MAHA agenda, making America healthy again, and we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Following up.
Aujourd'hui, au bout de ça, on parle de puces qu'on pourra s'implanter. Ce sera quand ça?
Certainement dans les 10 années à venir. Et d'abord, on va les implanter dans nos vêtements, c'est-à-dire wearables, comme on le dit. Et après, on pourrait s'imaginer qu'on les implante dans nos cerveaux ou dans notre peau. Et à la fin, peut-être il y a une communication directe entre notre cerveau et le monde digital. Ce que nous voyons, c'est une sorte de fusion du monde physique, digital et biologique.
We here in Europe, we live in a democracy, right? Well, think again. For instance, here in the Netherlands, even though the entire parliament voted against participating in the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, the minister van Huffelen, this clown over here, went to the EU in Brussels and signed the agreement single-handedly, ignoring the will of both the parliament and the people. Why? Because she thinks it's important, and in her words, her opinion also counts. Also, the European Union put out a survey asking all European citizens what they think about the introduction of the CBDC. The responses were overwhelmingly negative. Everyone said, don't do it. So what do you think the EU did? Exactly, they ignored the will of the people. And in the fourth quarter of this year, the first version of the CBDC will be released. And then, in the second quarter of next year, the Dutch NLID wallet will be launched. And this is where all your money will exist. And it will be fully programmable. That means they can control what you spend your money on. For example, they could restrict you to buying only 2 clothing items per month. In the name of fighting climate change, of course. Or they could require you to spend your savings before a certain date, otherwise your saving would vanish, just to stimulate the economy. At that point, we have no financial freedom left. Even though nobody wanted this, the people didn't want it, and the parliament voted against it, it's still happening. Is this a democracy or not? Let me know in the comments what you think.
The fear of technological This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
To be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
See the way he's just running around in circles, right? He's not really saying anything. Cat got your tongue. As a matter of fact, he himself is an antichrist. There's no one antichrist. So if you're opposing something, you are anti that, right? So he is an antichrist, and he's building things that supports the antichrist movement. That's exactly what he's doing. And the individual, the interviewer asked a very good question. Aren't you, here you are talking about antichrist and this and that and the other, but you were building technological authoritarian type inventions that will help the antichrist movement, right? That really shut him up. He just kept throwing all these $5 words, trying to kind of like save face. But that's exactly what they're doing, right? With all this technology that they're building, it is all headed that same place. And for the antichrist thing they're talking about, there's not just one antichrist. There's a lot of them, and the Bible supports that. And we get that in 1 John, the 2nd chapter, and the 18th verse. Even the heading says, warning about antichrist. It says, dear children, the last hour is here. You have heard that the Antichrist is coming, and already many such Antichrists have appeared. From this we know that the last hour has come. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are all of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 mighty men of the house of Israel, down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in these latter days, who are of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all, I say shalom, right? Just to clarify that statement about Antichrist, because a lot of people have that notion there's going to be one individual that comes up and put the word in this dystopian. Well, we're already in that, the early stages of the dystopian world, right? And it's not being done by some one individual. It's being done by a bunch of individuals, right? The technocrats, the politicians, even the Vatican. So all these body of system conjoined together, that is your antichrist, right? They use the religion, they use the monetary system, they use the military, everything that they use to oppose the righteous way of living, right? So this is the antichrist. That's why it says warning about antichrist. In other words, there's no one individual. There's a lot of them out there. And you yourself can be an antichrist if you live in your life, contrary to the way Hamashiach, Yahushai, right, outlined that you should live your life. So you become an antichrist, right? So, just to make that point, but the interviewer asked him a very important questions, and you see how he was just trying to circle around this whole question. And now you have RFKJ Jr. says, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable, a real-time data collection device within 4 years. So this is all that technological thing that they're preparing, for the future, which Palantir is in the front of that. And this guy here, Thiel, Peter Thiel, he is in that, right? He's one of those individuals building all this stuff. And you have RFK Jr. Supported and part of the Make America Healthy Again is that you wear devices, wearable devices that are known to have radiations in them. Your phones, your smartwatches, all this stuff, have radiations. How are you going to make people healthy? Meanwhile, giving them the technology that is harming them. You see the hypocrisy and all of that? And here you have the European Union plans to introduce its CBDC, the digital euro, in October of this year. It will be fully programmable. That means they can control what you spend your money on, right? As that control system this guy is building, he was asked about this authoritarian type dystopian system, world. It says, for example, they could restrict you to buying only 2 clothes per month, clothing items per month. It says, in the name of fighting climate change, or they could require you to spend your savings before a certain date. Otherwise, your savings will vanish, just to stimulate the economy. At that point, we have no financial freedom left. He's already getting to that, right? And then you have this right here. In 2016, interview with World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab predicts that humans will have microchips implanted in their brains by 2016. You have Neuralink already got that covered, right? And a couple of other companies doing that. It says, in the end, there will be a direct communication between our brain and the digital world. That is very scriptural. The Bible tells you about these things. It says, what we see is a kind of fusion of the physical, digital, and biological world. That is what you call the 4th Industrial Revolution, where they merge the physical, the digital, and the biological world. See, that is your 4th Industrial Revolution, brought to you by the 4th beast, the Roman Empire, coming back as NATO and EU and America, the whore that seats upon the beast. That is what we see here. Then you have Henry Kissinger. This is way back in 92. Henry Kissinger, Klaus Schwab's mentor, speaking in 1992, says, a new world order will emerge. The only question is whether it will arise out of intellectual or moral insight and by design, or whether it will be forced on mankind by a series of catastrophes. Now you understand why this whole climate change thing is being put out there. Because these are the series of catastrophes that they're putting out there that will bring about this NWO. You get it? The wars, right? The alligator Alcatraz, right? All these things, the ICE agents, the cities being flooded with military type individuals, right? Tanks, all these things. This is how they're forcing you to this NWO, because they try to gradually, wean you to that point, but a lot of people are against it. So now they have to change their tactics. You see, it says that's the challenge of our period, and it makes it, to my mind, one of the most exciting periods in which anybody can live. And he's right on that, because we're seeing biblical prophecies happening. To them, they're looking to establish the NWO. To us, we're looking for the Lord to come back and crush them, because the NWO will fail. But remember what he says. It says whether it will be forced on mankind by a series of catastrophes. So you got to keep that in mind, because they are about to come at you with everything they've got. Which brings us here in Revelations, the 12th chapter and the 12th verse. It says, therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who live in the heavens, rejoice. But terror will come on the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you in great anger. Why? Knowing that he has little time. So they have a very small window of opportunity to establish the NWO. So that's why they have to force you through, what was that term he used? Catastrophes. Series of catastrophes. You see? So everything happening on the world stage right now, the civil unrest, the just total chaos going on by every means, right, is to lead you to this NWO. That is their plan. That's the order out of chaos. That's where you get your order ab chaos from. See, by any means necessary, they want to establish this NWO. It will emerge by his word. It will, whether you want it to come about in a peaceful way, just believe our lies and let it happen, or you can oppose us and then we'll force it down your throat through series of catastrophes. So everything happening, the whole, climate change agenda. You see, the climate change agenda, they're using that now. What happened in Texas, the whole place being flooded in, they are going to chuck that up to climate change. People dying, people dropping dead, forest fires. What happened in Pacific Palisades, right? This is all the series of catastrophes that is bringing about this NWO. That's why this crazy push to consider climate change and everything, right? Even the economic collapse, we cannot forget about that, because that's where they will bring about this whole new system, right? This whole new system. It says here, in a 15-minute city, everything you need is within a 15-minute radius. So, but what happens when convenient access becomes forced confinement? See that? Look at that word again, forced, right? Forced confinement. It says surveillance cameras on every corner, digital ID checkpoints, geo-fencing zones that track your every move, miss a curfew, travel too far, or descend too loudly, and you may find yourself locked out of service or worse. See that? Or worse. So combine that with smart grid tech, facial recognition, and AI policing, and suddenly this urban utopia starts looking like a digital prison. That's exactly what they want. Going back to Peter Thiel, building this whole system that Antichrist will use. You see, it says, what if the real plan is not to save the planet, but to cage the people? That is the plan. That is the plan. And it is in full swing. Believe that. It is in full swing. That's why we go back here in 2 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter and the 11th verse. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So you should know what time it is. You should know what it is they're planning when they come up with the big, beautiful bill, Build Back Better, what is it, Great Reset, whatever term they try to use, sustainable development and all that craziness, it all ties back to this. So they're trying to get advantage of you using all these terms because there's nothing good that will come out of it. Never have, never will. So right now you're seeing that, oh, there's no more Epstein client list, right? There's no more of that, but they promised you they were going to give it to you. Didn't they do that? Well, the devil, the Satan took advantage of you like they always do. And the ignorant folks out there always fall for the okie doke every single time. And this is what they believe in. They count on that for you falling for their trap every time, right? You know, remember, safe and effective. You see, you always fall for it. Always do you fall for it, right? Right here, Job, the 5th chapter, the 12th verse, it says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Going back to the NWO, which Henry Kissinger was speaking about way back in 92. And this is even prior to his speech in 92. They've been working on this for a very long time to establish this enterprise. The Novus orders to Chlorum to crown their enterprise with success. You see, they've been planning this for a very long time, but he, which is the Most High, through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, will disappoint the devices of the crafty. Their 15-minute cities, their fourth industrial revolution, their great reset, the net zero carbon footprint emissions and sustainable development and UBIs, universal basic income, social credit score system, all this stuff, cashless societies and CBDCs, and then ultimately the mark of the beast. All that they've planned will come to naught. It will. It has to. Because there's no way we can live like that. The world wasn't designed to be run by technocrats and, psychopaths. You see? It says he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. So this is the Most High is doing. So it's allowing them to carry out all these plans because why? It is prophecy. It is all part of prophecy. See? It goes on to say they meet with darkness in the daytime. Excuse me. Going to the all this Bilderberg group, Davos meetings, where the Molech is, Bohemian Grove, right? Or wherever they go to have these meetings that they plan to change the world with, this is what they do. It says, and grow up in the noonday as in the night, because they hide, go to a very disclosed area to do all these meetings. It goes on to say, but he severed the poor from the sword. Who is that? The Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, who saved the poor from the sword, from their mouth and from the hand of the mighty, because they have all the strength, they have all the military might, they have all the technology. You can't fight against them in a physical way. So that's why the Most High, through his only begotten Son, have to step in. It tells you that in Daniel, the 12th chapter, how Michael will, the archangel Michael with our Lord will have to step in. That's how crazy it's going to get. You see? Let's finish off here with the good old, because, we had that. Because everything, all this stuff, 15-minute cities, NWO, especially this, all these things, CBDCs, and all this technology they're building with AI and things, the wearables, all this lead back to a major prophecy which you'll find in Revelations, the 13th chapter and the 15th verse. Beginning from the 15th verse, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So part of the image of the beast, meaning what they stand for is their policies, all this, the NWO, right? The mark, the policies that will implement the mark of the beast. You see, the big beautiful bill, the Build Back Better, the legislations, the executive orders that they're signing, to show you what the beast is all about. You see? So this is how the image of the beast speaks. It becomes a draconian measures that is now taking over the planet. Now you have to dance by their tune, or you will be unalived. So that will eventually lead to the 16th verse. It says, and he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. You see, you have Klaus Schwab talking about very soon people will be walking around with technologies in their head, the chips implanted in their head. Well, the Bible told you about that years before this is happening now, right in front of you. You see, it says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So there will be no transaction done unless you have this mark, this chip, this device that they will put inside of you. And the infrastructure for this device to be run is already there. You know, most people don't even use cash anymore, right? You pay everything online, which is part of the gradualism. You see, very soon now, you will be required to get that chip. That's why they're in a rush to destroy, to collapse the present system, going cashless, because they have to bring about this major prophecy. He says, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. This is where you get your 666 from. And Hollywood is filled with the 666 symbol. This is how you know who the beast is. That's how you know how he operates. Even your barcode. You know, when you go to buy something, it's encoded 666 inside of it. You see? That's what we are. So you have to be aware of this. You can't let the devil, Satan, get advantage of you. Know what they're about, know what they're doing, and see for what it is. And pray and watch always. And with that, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.